Tempest Shadow, Skystar, A True Love by Svirstian. Only 2 months after that Storm King has been defeated, Tempest was traveling around the other kingdoms to inform that Storm King was defeated and he will never come back. But during the same time, Skystar had been feeling a bit sad lately. She's actually liked Tempest a lot, but when she found out that Tempest had left Ponyville, Equestria to travel around, and that when she asked Twilight where she could find Tempest, and Twilight honestly didn't know because she could be far away from Equestria. She could be away for months or perhaps even several years. And that made Skystar even more sad. In fact, back in Equestria, she has really started to feel a bit more insulated. Even some of her new, I get some new friends there, but she didn't spend so much time with them. And her mother, Queen Novo, has started to getting a bit worried about her daughter. So she decided to send her to Twilight for some company. At first, Skystar didn't want to go. She wants to be alone. But at the same time, later on, maybe she should be with some friends. And she decided to go to Ponyville for a visit. Queen Novo had arranged to let Skystar stay there as long as she wanted to. And Twilight said that wrote back to Queen Novo that Skystar is always welcome. And a few days later, Skystar were in Ponyville for her visit. First, Skystar was showing around in town to see what else to see. But after that she'd been showing around, Twilight asked if she wanted to join her at the library to read some books. But Skystar said no. She decided to take a walk by herself. She was walking around, seeing other ponies, was happy with a special song pony, and even at the same time explore a little bit more about their pony culture. But then, when she was walking, she actually bumped into some pony. She didn't exactly who it was, and she said sorry for that, but the person said back that no harm done. Skystar immediately recognized the voice. It was Tempest. She saw, and it was Tempest, and she was surprised to see that Tempest had actually returned to Ponyville. She asked Tempest why she was in there now. She thought that she was traveling around with Grubber. It seems that Grubber decided to travel alone to tell that Storm King has been defeated. There was no argument between there, but because that Tempest felt homesick, and Grubber traveled around with some more of their former guards and the pirates, and he promised to be back to Equestria with the end of the year. And Tempest had now, since she actually returned back to her own hometown for a visit. But it seems that her parents had passed away only 2 years earlier, and they had no way to contact the daughter since they had no idea where she were. And Tempest didn't feel any more home there. Most of her friends were gone, and so she decided to go back to Ponyville to settle down there, because she had friends there. And Skystar and Tempest, they talked a little bit on the street before going back to the castle. And even Tempest was happy to see Twilight. And Twilight, she was very surprised about Tempest's visit. And when she was told by Skystar that Tempest is going to stay. She was beyond happy. And that same night, Skystar was laying on her bed. She couldn't even sleep. She decided to take a walk around the castle to do something. And she heard some noise which came from the kitchen. She looked around and saw it was Tempest. She really scared Tempest. She dropped some of the things on the floor and she apologized and asked why she was up so late. Tempest explained that she couldn't sleep and that she often gets some better sleep if she has been eating something. And then she asked why Skystar was up so late, since only 4 in the morning. And Skystar explained the same thing, that she couldn't sleep. So they decided to make something to eat, and they sat in the kitchen and just talked. And they talked and talked and talked for nearly 2 hours. And suddenly, Skystar asked if Tempest had ever found her true love yet. If like she was in love with Twilight. But Tempest explained that she wasn't even in love with Twilight, that she see her like a sister. And Tempest actually hasn't ever been in love with before until recently. And then she explained that she had been falling in love with not a pony this time. It's actually another creature, and Skystar felt almost like her heart was falling apart in pieces. Then Skystar asked who this creature were, and if he is very handsome. But Skystar was more surprised than that. Tempest said it wasn't a man, it was not a stallion, or at least it was actually a female. Tempest was very much surprised to see Skystar was surprised at that. And then she explained it was actually Skystar. Skystar couldn't bring a word. She was in total shock about this news. And suddenly Skystar explained to Tempest that she also had these feelings for her, and she never explained how she could explain it before. Because she wanted to tell Tempest, but since she didn't exactly know where she were. Since Twilight didn't even know where exactly Tempest were at the time. And then Skystar asked if Tempest would go out with her, and she was prepared for a no. But in fact, she said yes. And they decided to go out the next day, which they did. On their date, they actually had this awesome time. They first went to a restaurant, and after that they walked around the town, and later sat down outside the city down toward sunset. And then they had the first shared kiss. At first, Skystar was very excited about this, and when they went back to the castle, they actually explained all this to Twilight. And Twilight wasn't not much surprised about it. She kinda knew that Skystar had feelings for Tempest since she asked about it her earlier. Tempest and Skystar remained in capital in Ponyville for the next couple of weeks. And even Skystar had been asked by Twilight if she's going back home. But Skystar had explained to Twilight, no. She said no, that she is never going back home. She's staying in Ponyville for permanent residence. But she will go back home for a visit to her mother. And she actually wrote a letter back to her true mother, Queen Noble, explained that Skystar is not going back. She's staying in Ponyville with her true love Tempest Shadow. And Skystar and Tempest was prepared for that her mother would be quite upset, since Tempest used to be Storm King's second command. But she wasn't even that. She explained that Tempest has been reformed, and she was actually more a friendlier. And only about a few months later, they actually went to see Equestria for a visit. Tempest had a little bit hard to get used to be a sea pony, but after some time, she would get used to it. They traveled back and forward some time over time, just to get used to both worlds. And even Queen Noble visited Ponyville for a visit to see her daughter to see how she has been settling down and how to adapt to a life on land. And surprisingly, Skystar has really get used to live on land, and especially with her fiancé, Tempest. Just only about a few days before Noble's visit, Tempest had actually proposed to Skystar. And first they were afraid that Noble said that's too early for an engagement. But she was just happy for her daughter to have found true love. And she gave both Skystar and Tempest her blessing. And only about a few months later, they actually held the candlelit wedding between Skystar and Tempest. Some of Tempest's old friends was actually found and was invited. At first there was some attention between them, but they always forget Tempest what she had done in the past. Skystar had Twilight as her bridesmaids, and Tempest had Fluttershy as her bridesmaids. Queen Noble, she was the one who performed this entire ceremony. And just after that, they went to their honeymoon in Saudi Arabia for 3 whole weeks. And even so, just barely 2 years later, Skystar and Tempest had asked Twilight for help for they wanted to start a family. And Twilight did help them. First, Skystar became pregnant with twins, 2 sons. And only 2 years later, Tempest had their own daughter. And they were very surprised to see that they were all unicorns, both with parts of from an hippogriff and unicorn. And that's how Tempest, Shadow, and Skystar found their true love and got a family. The end.